Okay, um, welcome to our June 1st, 2023 Traffic and Transportation meeting. My name is Edgar Ramos. I'm the chair of the Traffic and Transportation Committee. This is Bronx Community Board 7's Traffic and Transportation Committee. The committee agenda is as follows. First, we'll read the meeting guidelines, introductions and attendance, review of previous month's minutes, follow-up from previous month if applicable, new business. DOT has some updates for us. Fordham Road Bus Lane Project. One of the 311 tickets, they got processed through DOT. MTA has an update on us for the accessibility upgrade for Mashula Parkway, that new elevator. And then we have TD11. Our next meeting date will be September 7th, 2023. And we'll have a discussion on our next agenda and our adjournment. On May 20th, 2023, Mayor Adams issued Executive Order 411, extending the state of emergency through June 19th, 2023. Accordingly, boards are able to continue to act under the state of emergency section of video conferencing law, chapter 56, part WW. This allows the board to continue remotely. Minutes and video recordings will be made available at our website. If you're calling into the meeting on our conference controls while joining from landline or cell, to hear all your available commands, hit asterisk on your phone, *6, mute or unmute yourself, *9, virtual raise hand. For those of you that are from a different era, right, the asterisk is the little star thingy. How we will run this meeting is as follows. Code of conduct for meetings. Penalties and actions. Bronx Community Board 7 has the right to remove and or ask a member of the public to leave a meeting or block participation of anyone who engages in inappropriate conduct, including but not limited to obscene or offensive images or language, personal attacks, threats, or any other behavior that reasonably impedes the orderly administration of the meeting. Repeated offenses will be reviewed by the board's executive committee or any other assigned committees. For a ban of the participant, the amount of time to be objectively determined by the above committee in the event of repeated disruptive behavior. If in-person outbursts or attacks continue, this will be considered disturbing the peace and the authorities will be summoned. Everyone besides the speaker or presenter will stay muted throughout the meeting. After each presentation is over, I will inquire if the committee members have questions. Committee members will signify that they have a question by pressing the raised hand button on your screen if you're on Zoom, or request to speak through the chat or when the chair opens the floor. Members of the public who have joined through the online link will be able to ask questions and make a brief statement on the item after each presentation and after the committee has had an opportunity to ask clarifying questions. By pressing the raised hand button on your screen or request to speak through the chat or when the chair opens the floor. Only those recognized by the chair, the committee, will be allowed to speak during the allotted time. We will stay on topic with the agenda items. Any other items will be acknowledged by the chair in new business or addressed at the next meeting. Granted, there is time and the committee agrees to the topic. Following the questions, discussions, and public comment portion, The committee will begin their discussion with each presentation's agenda and will conclude with the decision to vote on a recommendation. When the agenda is finished, the meeting will be adjourned. Are there any questions related to the meeting software or our process? Please use the chat function or raised hand function or contact the district manager. Those are our guidelines. Okay, how's everyone doing? All right, we will go to the attendance of our committee, please. Okay, Edgar Ramos, present. Eric Asensio.
Eric Asensio is present.
Lowell Green.
Lowell Green is present.
Andrew Leosa. Uh-oh. See, his name is on.
Andrew Leos is present, sorry.
Okay, that's okay, thank you. And Daisy Perry.
Daisy Perry present.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, has everyone had a chance to see our May minutes as presented in the email? Any, okay,
Motion to accept the minutes.
thank
As
you, Eric.
presented.
Okay, Edgar Ramos accepts. Eric Asensio,
Eric accepts the minutes.
thank you, Eric. Lowell Green,
Lowell Green accepts the minutes.
okay, Andrew Leosa,
Andrew Leos supports the motion.
thank you. Daisy Perry,
Daisy Perry accepts.
okay, thank you very much, Daisy. Okay, we have unanimous vote and the May minutes are approved. Due to the fact that we're remembering May, right, we got to remember Nora Fury. Nora Fury was a member of Community Board 7 for many years. She was very well spoken, always helpful, and she made her presence known, and she was always a positive light. Like to take a moment and do a moment of silence for her, which she very well deserves. So I'd ask everyone to just give her a moment of silence.
You're muted, Edgar.
Okay. I'm sorry, I don't know how much of that got I hope the moment of silence got heard and understood. And like I said, Nora was a very positive member in that community board. You know, everybody considered her very spunky, you know, and it was a great energy. So we will now continue with our meeting. We have on the new business, DOT has a presentation for us today.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having us. My name is Teresa Cruz. I'm the acting Deputy Bronx Borough Commissioner for New York City DOT. Joined by some of my team, Jesus Soto, Renee Luciano, and Kevin Perez Molina. I'm also joined by Rami Meadow, who's our Director of Strategic Engagement, Dustin Koo, who's our Project Manager for our Fordham, and Janet Jenkins, who's our Assistant Commissioner for Transit Development. We're also joined by some of our friends at MTA New York City Transit. Megan Molina, if you want to introduce the team.
Thanks, Darissa. Megan here from New York City Transit, Government and Community Relations, joined by several of my colleagues tonight for two different presentations, but for this, for Fordham Road, I'm joined by Rob Thompson from our Operations Planning Team.
Thanks, Megan. So I'm going to pass it along to Dustin. If we can hold questions until the end of the presentation, that would be great. Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. Can you all hear me okay?
Yep.
Great. Okay, I'll start by sharing my screen. Edgar, could you allow people to share the screen? It says it was disabled.
Yeah, you should be able to right now.
Okay, let's try again. Okay, got it. 1 second. Okay, can you all see this? Great. 1 second while I rearrange my windows.
Yes, what's up?
Okay, you guys can see this on full screen, right?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right, so thank you all for having me and letting me present to you all on updates for the Fordham Road Inwood Bus Priority Project. For the sake of time, we're going to go through this fairly quickly, but we did present the full presentation to the Community Advisory Board, which Edgar was at yesterday, and we will also be posting this online. And also, if you have any specific questions at the end of this presentation, we'd be happy to cover that as well. So today we're going to quickly go over the project background, the timeline of outreach for this project, which includes meetings, project briefings, walkthroughs, direct engagement with members of the Fordham community. MTA is here to present the 6-month camera enforcement evaluation. Janet Jenkins, our Assistant Commissioner, is here to go over the traffic analysis results that we've been working on over the past year. And then I'll walk you through the summary and next steps for this project. So just a little bit refresher of why we are doing this project in the first place. In 2008, MTA and DOT launched the first SBS route, the BX12. The BX12 is currently the busiest bus route in the Bronx and the second busiest in New York City after the M15. This corridor is a critical crosstown transportation corridor that also connects the Bronx to Manhattan. This corridor serves an average of average daily bus riders of 85,000 people per day. This area of the city is located within a Tier 1 priority investment area in New York City, in the New York City Streets Plan. Bus riders and pedestrians form the majority of roadway users on Fordham Road. The majority of households on this corridor do not have access to a private vehicle, and they commute via public transit, walking, and biking. Fordham Road is also a Vision Zero priority corridor with 4 priority intersections identified for increased safety treatments. And between 2014 and 2018, there have been 83 people killed or significantly injured between the Major Deegan and Boston Road. So currently the bus facilities that exist today on Fordham Road are only curbside bus lanes. And along most of the corridor, bus lanes are only in effect during peak periods. That means Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. However, there is a 2-hour midday window where the bus lane is not in effect. And this is meant for businesses to get their deliveries. And that 2-hour window differs depending on which side of the road that you're on. There is a segment within CB7 of curbside bus lanes from Sedgwick Avenue to University Avenue that are in effect 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. without the 2-hour midday break. So But over the past few years, we have observed a lot of challenges with the existing bus facilities. Most of it pertains to the intense curb demand that exists here. So the curbside lanes are less efficient means of balancing bus priority and curb access. Deliveries are only permitted within the 2-hour window that I mentioned. Expeditious pickups and drop-offs by passengers are allowed at any time, regardless of bus lane hours. This causes further delays for buses needing to weave in and out of traffic. Observations and data show that the existing curbside bus lanes are frequently blocked throughout the day. And now Rob Thompson from MTA can talk about some of the bus speed data that they've been working on.
Thanks, Dustin. Yeah, so this chart, I'm pretty sure we've presented this before. The green line shows speeds on the BX12 SBS over the course of many years. The blue line is ridership on the combined SBS and local. And you can see towards the left side of the chart in 2008, the speeds really shot up. That was when we launched the BX12 SBS and the bus lanes and the off-board fare collection. And the speeds remained fairly high for several years after that. And the ridership also increased over time, which we believe is really in response to those increases in speed. However, then starting around 2013, 2014, the speeds started to decline and continued to for several years as the bus lanes became more and more compromised, more people parking or stopping in the bus lanes. And then ridership subsequently also started to decline over the course of a number of years in response to that. If you go to the next slide, we can see where the speeds are slowest. The colors on this are basically showing as the colors get darker, the speeds are lower. You can see to the west of Pelham Parkway, the speeds are really almost everywhere pretty slow. In particular, between Webster Avenue and Manhattan, that's really the main commercial area. Speeds are 4 to 6 miles an hour in a lot of places, or even less than 4 miles per hour, which is like basically walking speed between Webster and the Grand Concourse. The only not quite as slow area in that stretch of Fordham is really in front of Fordham University, where there's not any retail activity, but basically anywhere where you have all the stores, all the busy business activity, those bus lanes that are at the curb are conflicting with occasional trucks or cars that are stopping to access those businesses. Despite them being legal bus lanes, it's sort of a constant conflict. If you want to proceed with the other slides.
Yes, thank you, Rob. So, with taking into all of that into account, what we've just discussed, we have realized that, Fordham Road deserves better than what currently exists today. DOT's transit toolkit has evolved since 2008. We have a lot more tools at our disposal for redesigning streets to make them work better. With the problems I just mentioned, commercial vehicles illegally parking in the bus lane, it's a chronic problem. If they don't make that 2-hour window, buses are forced to then drive into general travel lanes that create even greater congestion for drivers and the 85,000 daily bus passengers. So essentially the existing condition of the roadway doesn't work well for any road user. And we do now have a stronger street improvement toolkit to address these issues. So what was mentioned at the prior community advisory board meeting in last year in March of 2022, where we proposed 3 distinct sets of roadway configurations that we would be studying in the traffic analysis. So that's what we've been doing in the past year. I'll quickly go over what these three are, but we will go into more detail when Janet goes through the traffic analysis. But essentially they are alternative A, offset bus lanes in both directions, alternative B, an eastbound busway from Morris Avenue to Webster Avenue, alternative C, which is a two-way busway approximately from Jerome to Webster Avenue. And, given all that, I do want to announce now, which is also what we announced at the Community Advisory Board meeting yesterday, that based on all the feedback that we received from the Fordham community, which includes bus riders, businesses, and other stakeholders, as well as the traffic analysis results that we will be going over, we've decided we will be continuing to move forward with refining alternative A and not advancing alternatives B and C into the next phases of design. We will now walk you through all the work we've done over this past year, and our Assistant Commissioner Janet Jenkins will walk you through the details of the traffic analysis. So just to pivot away from the design really quick, just want to go over the timeline of outreach really quick. So we've had over 20 individual meetings to date on this project. 50% of them have been since we met. We had our third Community Advisory Board meeting in March of 2022. And then just yesterday, we had the fourth Community Advisory Board meeting where we took in initial feedback from major stakeholders. Notable events that happened over the past year were, since the third Community Advisory Board meeting, is that we received letters from Councilmember Felice, the Fordham and Belmont Bids, the Bronx Borough President, and from CB6, where they listed concerns that they had, and we listened to those concerns through multiple meetings and project briefings with them. A major event that took place last year was that the DOT Commissioner had a walkthrough with New York City Transit President, the Bronx Borough President, and Council members Felice and Sanchez in November of last year. The outcome from that walkthrough was that we decided to put the project on hold to establish a 6-month able camera evaluation, which Rob will be going through in a moment. We conducted surveys along Arthur Avenue from concerns from the bid, and we continue speaking to major community institutions to understand what their transportation needs and concerns were. And so I'm going to quickly go over direct engagement that we talked to, people on the street to understand what their needs were as well. In 2019, we did a merchant survey where we talked to the local businesses. A key concern that they had was the availability of parking and loading. During that same time, we also did a shopper survey where we spoke to shoppers along Fordham Road. What we found was that 86% of visitors to businesses on Fordham Road arrived by walking, bus, or train. In November of 2020, the Association for Better New York also conducted a research survey where they found that 79% of people supported changes to city streets that would make buses faster and more reliable. And specifically concerning Fordham Road, 89% of respondents supported improving the existing bus lanes, 66% supported additional bus lanes, and 70% supported a busway option. And 72% of non-bus riders supported improving the existing bus lanes on Fordham Road. In June of 2021, we hosted a virtual public workshop. The main takeaways that we got from this workshop were that there was serious traffic congestion along Fordham Road, not surprising. Issues with parking and curb access, support for physical barriers for the bus lanes. There was support for offset bus lanes to allow for more parking. There was support for a busway option for the most congested areas. And there were bike and pedestrian safety concerns near the Major Deegan, Sedgwick Avenue, and Grand Concourse. In October of last year, we also did a street intercept survey to better understand the transportation needs of people using Fordham Road. So the main concerns we heard were that there was overcrowding on the bus. They waited too long for their bus, and that their bus was constantly stuck in traffic. And most recently, we did a shopper survey on Arthur Avenue in response to concerns from the bid. What we found was that 70% of respondents came to Arthur Avenue specifically to visit the businesses in Little Italy. 55% came for shopping and dining, and most respondents that we spoke to supported a busway option. And now Rob will talk about the 6-month camera enforcement evaluation that we did.
All right. So first of all, there have been bus lane cameras on Fordham for quite some time. The fixed location cameras have been out there since as early as 2011 and 2013. There are 10 of them, with 5 each in Council District 14 and 15. These kind of cameras are best for catching motorists who are driving in the bus lanes. They're not as good for catching people who are parking in the bus lanes. However, that's addressed by the next thing we've been doing. If you go to the next slide. So last year we started rolling out, if you could advance the slide. At least I don't see it. There we go. So we rolled out what we call our ABLE program, which is our bus lane cameras on our buses, which is a citywide program. We installed them on the BX12 SBS starting on November 18th of last year. And there was a 60-day warning period, which started at that point. Nearly 16,000 tickets were issued between then and April 21st, and it is ongoing still. And we have had some positive results in terms of the bus speeds resulting from this. If you look at the chart on the right, this is tracking percentage change in bus speeds with October 22 as a baseline. The blue line is the BX12 SBS speeds. The orange line is the trend for the borough as a whole in terms of bus speeds. And as you can see, the 12 SBS, where the bus lanes are, has been outperforming the borough basically every month since we started this program. And most recently in April, it was outperforming the borough by 2%, which is, it's a good thing. It's not a huge thing. It's definitely not, a 2% increase over the borough, or 4.7% since October is not the end result we want to be at. It's the speeds are still not as fast as they were back in 2008 when we launched the SBS in the first place. So we really have room to grow. And just to point out the way the ABLE cameras are sort of working with driver behavior, looking at all of the thousands of tickets that have been issued citywide, 86% of drivers who receive a ticket just receive one. So, they parked in the bus lane, they get a ticket, they don't do it again. They change their behavior. 9% of people who get tickets get just 2, and that's it. However, there are 5% of people who have received the tickets are getting 3 or more, and those are really probably the problem that we're stuck on is that even if, let's say, on a given block we go from three parked vehicles to 2 or 2 parked vehicles to 1 in the bus lane, if there's a 1 parked vehicle, basically the bus is not really able to use that bus lane on that block to go faster than general traffic, because they'd have to, go into the lane, then weave around a vehicle and then weave back in. It's faster to just stay going straight in the general traffic lane even though that's going to be slower than a clear bus lane. So if you want to go to the next slide, our overall results from this is that we've had positive results from this new bus lane camera program, but it's not enough. We still have some blockages, and it's really going to be continue to be the case as long as the bus lanes are at the curb where trucks are going to try and make deliveries. Some motorists are going to try and stop and shop, even if the bus lanes are in effect. And so really there needs to be something different to improve bus speeds for the 85,000 people who are riding these buses every day on Fordham Road.
Thank you, Rob. Yeah, and now Janet Jenkins, our Assistant Commissioner, can walk you through the traffic analysis slides that we conducted.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Thanks. I'm glad to be here today. This is a really long presentation on traffic analysis, so I am going to try to give you a brief overview of what we've got here, and glad to answer additional questions after that. But I first wanted to start with talking about how we do our traffic analysis and our methodology. So for this project, we counted vehicles and pedestrians at over 60 intersections. We on Fordham Road from, Pelham Parkway across the University Bridge onto 207th Street, up Kings Bridge, and across 188th Street. That would be the major diversion routes if we had decided to move forward with any busway alternatives. Then we do an origin destination survey. We take a look through a couple of different points. Where are drivers on Fordham going to? If they're driving east, where are they ending their trip? If they're driving west, where are they ending their trip? And that helps us understand how we divert cars in different directions based on where we know that they want to go. And all of that comes out of anonymous GPS data like you see on Google Maps that gives you the speeds of vehicles traveling on Google Maps, that kind of thing. We have software that allows us to do analysis in that work. Then we plug all of those counts and everything into a model. The model looks like what you see on the screen right here, this green box with all the intersections in it. And then we analyze each of these things within that model. Signal timing, we look at the number of lanes approaching each intersection, what each lane does. Is it going straight? Is it turning right? Is it turning left? We look at the number of pedestrians crossing the street at every crossing and the time it takes them to do that, which fits into the signal timing. And we do all of this for multiple alternatives, scenarios, and then improvements. We had 3 different alternatives here. We looked at a variety of different alternatives having to do with the volume of traffic we leave in the network. We know that when we do projects, sometimes there's usually a volume of traffic somewhere between 0 and 40% that will choose to travel at other times of day, switch to using other modes, or take different streets that are not in our network. So we test this out at all of these different levels as a sensitivity. And then we also look at improvements and how we can make the traffic network flow better. And we don't just do this on the machine, we validate these results, especially in the existing condition, right? We go out and we do observations of the street. We see how vehicles are moving, we see how is traffic flowing, how is parking movements happening, where is loading happening, what does double parking look like, so that we can make that existing conditions model as accurate as possible. So then when we get into the build conditions, we know what we're looking at. And also I want to say, we look at the worst case scenario. So we look at the worst hours of the day. We've done this analysis for morning, midday, PM hours, and I believe a Saturday midday hour. We're going to be showing you the PM hour because that is the worst of all of them. So we look at the worst hours of the day, the worst traffic volumes, the longest queues at intersections, the toughest diversion patterns, and we do this so that we do have a sense of what the worst case scenario is, but this is not what we see at all times of day, even though stuff on Fordham is definitely very intense. It's a really intense location for traffic and of all kinds. So, and we run all that through our model, and then we end up with a prediction of the future according to engineering standards. And there's a lot of slides in here. I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on, but we can come back to them. But Dustin, if you want to go to the next slide. This is a slide, and we can provide more detail on this, but this is an example of how we do our origin destination analysis for vehicles going eastbound through Fordham Road and Jerome Avenue, the little star there. We can develop a percentage understanding of where all of those vehicles end up. And that helps guide us through our whole process. And about 24% end up right around Fordham Road, and the rest are taking more regional trips through the area. And when we're looking at this project, we want people who need to be on Fordham Road, drivers who need to be there, to be able to be there. But if you don't need to be on Fordham Road, we'd prefer that you think about taking different routes so that we can free up some of that street space for buses to help buses move faster. Next slide. We looked at it similarly in the opposite direction. So same kind of concept. If you're heading westbound at Webster Avenue, where do those vehicles end up? Small number, well, still about that 25%, 26% end up right around Fordham Road. But the rest are, looking at a more regional picture. Next slide. So as Dustin said, we've looked at 3 different alternatives. We are not going to pursue any further the eastbound busway and the two-way busway. We're going to advance the offset bus lanes. We think this provides the best, as Dustin said, the best balance between what we're hearing from businesses and other stakeholders, and also what we're hearing from bus riders, and how do we provide really good bus priority and organization and safety for the street of Fordham Road. We are assuming that 20% of vehicles that are there today are going to take other roads that are not necessarily in this network. So that's what we're showing you here today for the PM hour. Next slide. So alternative A, offset bus lanes in both directions. So what this would do is take the existing curbside bus lanes and move them 1 lane away from the curb, which would provide a single travel lane then for all vehicles, a single travel lane for buses, and then the curbside lane, which would now be available for pickup drop-off, for deliveries, for parking, according to posted regulations. And we're really interested in working closely with you, closely with the bid, to really determine what makes the most sense for those curbside uses. It's a big opportunity that we have here along the curb on Fordham. As Dustin may have said, when we have a curbside lane, we can enforce people parking there against people parking there, but it's legal for people to pick up and drop off in that lane. So if one person is there to pick up someone or drop off in an Uber, the bus can't use the lane. It has to pull out, merge into traffic, and go back around. And that's a real challenge. With an offset bus lane, that eliminates a lot of that conflict. It also eliminates the weaving that vehicles do by moving from one lane to another lane to try and get down the street a little faster by keeping the vehicles organized in that single lane. And we still have the benefit of using automated enforcement for double parking and those kinds of issues. Next slide. So this slide has been in our presentations before. This just shows where we are looking at putting in offset bus lanes. I will say it's slightly out of date, where essentially our proposal will be to put in these offset bus around Sedgwick Avenue, all the way across to Boston Road, I believe. So throughout there, so upgrading what's there and extending these a little bit on either end of the corridor. Next slide. So the traffic analysis results. And I said yesterday to the cab, I worked for a traffic engineering firm for 10 years, and in this role, I don't get to talk about traffic a lot. So this has actually been kind of fun for me. But so what I'm showing you here we ran all of this offset bus lanes through the model that we have, and rather than show everything, which is not very helpful to any of us, what I'm showing here are the intersections that have that we're going to call hotspots, right? That by putting in these bus lanes, these are the places where we see that there may be more congestion, more delays, and things that we want to continue to look at to see if we can tweak them to make them operate a little better. So I think the biggest one, the most severe one, was the northbound right turn on University Avenue is a concern. As well as the northbound right, a little less severe on Webster Avenue, and then some on Bathgate, and then some through movements there in either direction along the corridor. So this just shows us that we really need to, take a look at this. We also assumed that all of the volume, except for that 20% reduction I talked about, will stay on Fordham Road. And in reality, in this scenario, again, we took the most conservative approach. Some vehicles may divert to other roads. They may divert to 188th Street heading east. They may divert to Kingsbridge heading west. But in this scenario, we feel really good about this. Like, this is a very good outcome. And we feel that traffic is going to operate very well in this analysis. We don't have any other major effects or impacts to roadways outside of that corridor. Next slide. So I'm not going to go through alternatives B and C since we're not pursuing them, but I will say for the record that busways are priority streets for truck and transit, and they still do allow all cars, all vehicles to access every block of the street. It just is how you get there, right? So if you're a bus or a truck in a busway, you can drive from one end to the other. If you're a car, you have to come from the north or the south. Like I said, we're not pursuing these options at this time. And I'm just going to, but I just wanted to sort of point out what the benefits are there. They do have, buses move much faster in this scenario than they might under the offset bus lanes. But again, we understand that, this is a real challenge, and we have real concerns about it from the traffic analysis perspective too. I think we could probably work through it, but this is a pretty intense roadway, and it's a real challenge. So Dustin, if you could just go to the next slide. So let's just go to the traffic analysis, the next slide. So here is a similar slide for the eastbound busway. You see we've got a little more of the dark blue arrows, especially on Webster Avenue. Here we start to get concerned about how are we affecting the bus on Webster? How are we affecting the bus on University while we're improving the bus on Fordham Road? Dustin, can you go to the traffic analysis for Alt C? And then this was for the two-way busway. You see, we've got a lot more happening. We've diverted vehicles up onto Kingsbridge. We're diverting vehicles onto 188th Street. A lot of effects on Kingsbridge that, again, we could probably work through, but it's definitely a real challenge when we're sending a lot, several hundred vehicles up that way, and then kind of assuming they're going to reroute back down to Fordham on Jerome and University with a lot more severe potential delays there. So I think this is another one of the reasons that we feel good about pursuing the offset bus lanes, both as a benefit to the community, to bus riders, and to keep traffic flowing throughout the area. Next. And I know this isn't really affecting you guys, but we did take a look at 200 University Heights Bridge, and because of the intense construction going on 7th Street and upcoming capital projects, we're not going to propose any additional changes except for maybe some signal timing on the bridge and on 207th Street. And that's it. So Dustin, you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, thank you, Janet. Appreciate that. So given all that, we'll move on to summary and next steps or everything that we covered. So summary of all the alternatives. We studied for the past year, we studied alternatives A, B, and C. We weighed 4 different factors that led to our decision. This is a combination of bus service, traffic analysis results, bus rider feedback, and business owner feedback. So with all this in mind, based on the factors identified in the traffic analysis and listening to community concerns, we believe that alternative A, offset bus lanes along Fordham Road, is the best treatment to improve overall bus speeds, reliability, and curb demand while minimizing the effects on buses on north-south corridors. So this has benefits. The bus lanes are less likely to be blocked from illegal parking. The new design addresses the intense curb demand that we've been seeing over the years. In the latest calculation that we had based on our draft design, we're estimating 150 new curbside spaces added to the corridor instead of being confined to a 2-hour window. Whether that's parking or loading or public space, we will work with the community to see what they want to do with this new reclaimed space. That being said, the offset bus lanes are not foolproof. Double parking can still block the bus lane, but they are an upgrade from the existing curbside bus lanes. And as with all projects, DOT and MTA will continue to monitor bus speeds to see how this affects bus speeds, reliability, and curb demand. And we want to continue having conversations with you all on the status of our projects. Quickly going to go over just what this looks like, what an alternative A scenario actually looks like on the in a rendering. So this is in between Grand and Davidson. This is what exists today. We have cars and trucks that frequently block the bus lane outside of that 2-hour window when the bus lanes are in effect. The blocked bus lanes mean that the buses need to merge in and out of general traffic. This causes a lot of congestion. We already know it's gridlocked at the worst times, and the bus is trying to get in and out of that gridlock, causing even more gridlock. In our draft concept for alternative A, we would, as I mentioned, we would add newly dedicated curb spaces for parking or commercial loading. And with this offset lane, buses get dedicated lanes that are less likely to be blocked. Double parking can still be an issue, but this new able camera enforcement on the BX12 can help to alleviate some of those illegal parking issues. And so next steps, we had the community advisory board yesterday. We're presenting you all today. We plan on hitting all the community boards in the study area in the month of June. In summer, we'll continue to refine this design and take in more feedback from the community. And in fall, we do hope to a planned implementation for the fall of this year. And with that, we can move on to questions.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your presentation. Like as you opened and said, it's a very detailed presentation. There's a lot of information there. I know we had asked for a copy of the presentation so we could offer it on our website so that people can take a better look at some of the information. Because it's a lot to absorb during the presentation. So it's something that definitely needs to be studied further.
Sure.
I just want to add, I'm going to put my information in the chat. If there's any follow-up questions after this meeting, please feel free to send them to me. We're going to continue to engage through the summertime.
Okay, thank you, Darissa. So just real quick, just a quick question in reference to the traffic study, right? You mentioned the number of vehicles that are owned by people in these neighborhoods, right? Did you guys take into consideration the number of vehicles that are there that don't have New York City plates or New York State plates, right? You walk down Davidson, you walk down Grand Avenue, and a high percentage of the vehicles that are out there either have no plates, illegal plates, or out-of-state plates. We had a developer come and do a study about how many parking spaces was needed and stuff like that. And their information was very, very off, because they didn't take into consideration the amount of cars, right? Because I guess our neighborhood's very transient. There's a lot of people in and out, school, different reasons, and there just are an abundance of vehicles with out-of-state plates. Right, we're not going to say it's because of insurance or anything like that. It's the number of people from outside that are living here temporarily, moving through the area, going to school in the area. Was that taken into consideration in your numbers?
In the traffic study itself, we counted vehicles that were moving through each of those 60 intersections during those counts. So in that way, it provides us a typical understanding of the number of vehicles on the street, if that's what you're asking about. So that, we're talking about the moving vehicles there.
No.
If you're talking about the car ownership rates and the access to vehicle numbers that come from census data that was at the beginning of the presentation, I think that's self-reported data, right? That comes through the census. So that's the best information that we have available to us.
No, but what I'm saying is, have you guys tried to, have you guys literally taken a drive down Davidson, take a drive down Grand Avenue, take a drive down Morris Avenue, and see the abundant number of out-of-state plates that overnight are always there? Cars are always double parked, and there's barely parking for the people that live there, considering that, according to everybody's study, not too many people own cars in those neighborhoods.
I can, maybe try to answer that. We haven't in our field visits, we don't really count, who's out of state and who's not. I'm not sure if there are curb regulations that can help enforce who can park based on their license plate.
No, it's not a regulating or an enforcing thing. It's a number thing, right? If you drive through there, every parking lot, right, on Jerome Avenue, on Fordham Road, anywhere where there's a parking lot, there's not enough space in the parking lot for cars, right? They park cars in the sidewalks, and people drive around for hours, right? I live on Morris Avenue. People drive around for hours looking for a parking spot. And as you drive down the block, you see Virginia plates, you see no plates, you see paper plates, and these are vehicles that take up the street, right? And are you guys putting those vehicles into your counts, is what I'm asking.
They're definitely counted. Yes, any vehicle moving through is counted with our traffic counts and with the anonymized cell phone data. It doesn't matter what plates that they have, they would get pinged towards the total volume that is put into the model.
I also just want to highlight that as part of the offset proposal, it would add additional parking along Fordham Road.
Thank you for that. Like I said, it was just the data sometimes, depending on where you get your data from and how you get your data, sometimes the data can be a little misguiding.
Yeah, so our data collection, we have two sources. One is that we actually hang up cameras, and then the camera will count individually the number of cars passing through an intersection. And we set up cameras at each of the intersections in the study area. And the second is the anonymized cell phone data that we get through licensed software.
Right. Okay. I know there's a few of you. Does anybody from the committee have any questions for DOT?
Yes,
I do.
Go ahead, Lowell.
Okay. I've been on the community board a while, and I was involved when they first put in the dedicated bus lane. And the big question there was, okay, what do we do with delivery for these businesses? And honestly, from DOT, we got the rebate. Oh, well, we'll just open up these specific hours and everybody, you can, unload. Well, unfortunately, businesses do not work that way. They didn't then and they don't now. And giving a 2-hour time space in the middle of the afternoon to load and unload, I think is very unrealistic because most businesses want first thing in the morning delivery. And I think this is the wrong approach that you should make. I know it's prime time for everybody else getting to work, but to get those delivery trucks in and out at the most appropriate time is not, 2 to 4 in the middle of the afternoon. And in your whole discussion, you're talking about buses and cars. I hear very little discussion of businesses that need deliveries. And I think that needs to be better looked at when you're giving figures and space requirements. Thank you.
Yeah, I apologize if it wasn't clear in the presentation, but the purpose of this project is to address the inefficiency of exactly what you just described. So the offset bus lanes would free up the curb to allow for more deliveries throughout the entire day, as opposed to what exists now, which is not effective in this 2-hour window that you mentioned. And there would be 150 new parking and loading spaces freed up with what we're proposing.
Since I was involved in 2008 too, at the time, so was Rob from MTA here. And at the time when we did those curbside bus lanes, they were a brand new thing in New York City, right? They were a brand new thing, and doing curbside bus lanes was a really big deal. We know now that they're not. Our toolbox has evolved. And if we can move those bus lanes 1 lane away from the curb, keep traffic flowing, that really does free up the curb for exactly what you're saying, for allowing trucks to deliver at many other times of day, not just in those same windows. So we agree with you that this is it's a better plan to take a look at that. It is really important.
Thank you, Eric.
I think that this is still a wrong approach. I think it's not gonna work. I think that yes, it's giving back parking to the community where it's needed. But the problem I see is not between, after you cross Grand Concourse, between Grand Concourse and Webster, now you're not only talking about a single bus lane, right? Now you're talking about 5 different bus lanes that go through that segment of Fordham Road, right? In addition, Fordham Road is the connection to Pelham Parkway, which is the crossway between Manhattan and Bay Plaza, right? And Co-op City. So this is a major throughway, right? So assuming that people are, because there's only one single lane, are not going to take this road, sounds like a bad assumption on my perspective. I mean, I understand people come to Fordham for a specific reason, to shop or to do something, but this is also a throughway for people to go across the Bronx because we don't have that many options, right? So it seems to me that now I think it's great that we're shifting the lanes. I think it makes total sense because it works in other like Webster, in other areas. Up to a certain point. But again, I think that not looking further into the busway condition between Grand Concourse and Webster, that's a bad decision, or bad Grand Concourse and Southern Boulevard, right? This is where major traffic happens in our corridor, in our neighborhood, right? So if you already have the bus lane across the curb and no one's allowed to park there, then make the busway with the 2 lanes, right? The new one that you're creating and the one that's already existing. Like, why would you allow cars to come back into Fordham Road in that section where you know that you need a lot more delivery space, You need a lot more buses to go through. And you still need cars to go through to get to Pelham Parkway and across to the east side of the Bronx. Like, I don't understand how you would limit yourselves to just one option.
Eric, we're here to get feedback, so we really appreciate your comments, and that's something that we can definitely continue to take a look at. I understand your concerns about buses getting through Fordham.
Right.
I
So
don't know if Janet or Dustin want to add anything else.
No, I think you nailed it, Teresa.
All right, thank you, Eric. Andrew?
Yeah. Basically, I put it in the chat, but how much money does it cost to install a option? And if it doesn't work, if it ends up being a disaster, how expensive would it be to buy an alternative B or C? Or is this really like we have to live with it and we're kind of experimenting? And my second point is, for the purpose of policy, I've been saying this for 5 years. Car ownership, personal car ownership in the Bronx, I know for a fact because I was born and raised here, and people own cars with, for example, New York plates. Police department has cameras, the sheriff has cameras, the marshals have cameras mounted on their vehicles. They can drive down a street and they can run the plates of every car that's parked there. The cars are registered in Westchester, upstate, whatever. People in the Bronx have their cars registered in other counties because of the auto insurance is astronomical. If you're a 24-year-old male, you're going to be paying like $3,000 or $4,000 a year just for car insurance. So the data, too many policy decisions are made on significantly faulty, statistically incorrect data. You cannot go by the census. Vehicles are owned by people who live in the Bronx, but the cars are registered somewhere else under a friend's name, et cetera, et cetera. So please pay attention. The data that you're using is statistically not correct. It's statistically significantly wrong. So those are the 2 points. But getting back to this study, can we, if A doesn't work, can we do B? Can we do C? That's my question. Thank you.
So as I mentioned to Eric, we're in the process of trying to gain some feedback. I don't know that we can necessarily, because we don't, at this point, we're going to continue to pursue option A, but it's not the end all be all at this point. So there is still like consideration for B and C. And so once we actually like come back to the committee with the determination, then maybe we can
but that's not what was said, Darissa. What was said was that you guys are pursuing option A, and that is the option. That was how the presentation was started.
Understood. That's fair.
So you need to be more if you are receptive to the community, you shouldn't have said that from the beginning.
But not just as a heads up, right? I don't know, you guys remember the last meeting last month, right? We brought up the redesign for University Avenue. They did that redesign 2 years ago, right? And I guess some of the decisions that were made haven't worked out, and they have a few different decisions now that they tried, right? They did Hugh L. Grant Parkway all the way at the end, and they created the bus lanes in the middle, and it's a developing animal, right? You have ideas, you have hopes, and you hope things work out, right? University Avenue didn't work out the way they expected it, so now they're trying something different, right? I don't know if you've been down University lately, but they've drug up all the lane markings, and they're now putting in new lane markings, because it's now a different idea to see how that works.
I know, Edgar, but this is not the first time that they come to the community with suggestions of how to make traffic flow more efficient and bus lanes more efficient. They're doing that on Gun Hill, and it sounds like a great project as well, right? So they shouldn't come here and say this, we're pursuing this option, and this is the only option, when they have tons of other opportunities to make it better.
Hi, this is Rami Metal from DOT. I just want to jump in real quick. We are out pursuing, furthering to understand alternative A. B and C, have the problems that we kind of pointed to, that Janet talked about, the traffic implications. Obviously, if we do A and it's not working, and we have to determine what that means it's not working, then we could always come back and say, look, we tried it. It's not moving buses as efficiently as we'd like to. We think something stronger is necessary. We could look at A, look at B and C, and kind of revisit and see if anyone has the appetite for that, if that's what's necessary. But for right now, we do believe that A is the right place to
So
really
how long
put our
would that
effort.
process be, Rami?
We'd have to put it in. It would have to be in effect for some time to see how people are reacting and to get a sense of
Okay, so
travel
what is
times
the
and everything
cutoff
else.
time, right? Is it 6 months? Is it a year?
I would say it's not, we don't mean this to be sort of a pilot, but we get results. We have
I
an
mean, it's not
understanding.
a
Hold on.
pilot. You have done this throughout the city several times.
Right. So we do monitor all our projects through implementation for over a year afterwards, and we'll see how it's behaving. Just like with this project where we looked at it, we did it years ago, and we kept monitoring it, and that's why we're back, because we've noticed that it hasn't worked well for some time. So I don't know, I don't want to put like a time period on it, but like we'll know within 6-8 months, a year, if it's better, right? And if it's not better, if it continues to get worse, even after those changes, I think we're happy to have another conversation.
Okay, so then Edgar, maybe we should make a thing and say that they should come back to the community in a year and give us the results of their studies, right?
Yep.
We'd be happy to come back.
All right, thank you, Eric. Okay, this presentation has been pretty long. We've got other things that we have to come up with. We're gonna call on a few other members. We just ask you to try to keep your comments quick and direct. Chad?
Hi, good evening, everyone. 2 comments. I'm just curious as to how the gridlock is being addressed with any of these options. I know there are some very heavy gridlock patterns by Kingsbridge and Fordham, Marion, and at times even University and Fordham. My other question is, how are tractor trailers being factored in when some of the businesses actually need to receive deliveries from tractor trailers as opposed to regular trucks? I bring this up because the trailers have to park or double park in order to make the deliveries, and sometimes no vehicle can move. I'm just wondering, has that come into play, if any of these options?
I can briefly speak to the congestion issue. So that is what the traffic analysis was for. We did an extensive traffic analysis over the past year, and that helped us identify hotspots that Janet went through in the map. And I know there was a lot of information to cover, and we will be posting that online so that you can look at it into more detail. But there are hotspots that we would be monitoring, and we have tools in our disposal, such as changing the signal timing at these spots, adding, additional lane capacity through, left turning lanes and right turning lanes. That helps to facilitate, these choke points in the network. So that's what the traffic analysis for, is helping to identify where that might occur.
I also want to bring up, I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, some of the concerning areas, we don't see a lot in the offset bus lane scenario on Kingsbridge, though certainly that intersection with Fordham and Kingsbridge is a tricky one, and we'll be looking at it carefully. Sorry, go ahead. You were saying.
I also want to bring that Target just recently opened at Fordham Road, and I know they get a lot of deliveries from the trailers. So that might be something to keep an eye out for.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks.
we'll bring that back to our freight team as well.
I think one of the things that Target did, as well as the supermarket they're supposed to be putting on the concourse, is not actually put their delivery on Fordham Road, right? They have the bay doors available on Valentine Avenue, which kind of helps out a little bit in that. But problem is, of course, the half of that Valentine is bus stops, right, and layovers for the Westchester bus. But they have delivery points on Valentine rather than on Fordham Road for Target. Just so you know. I'm sorry, Serial.
AJ had his hand up before me.
Who?
AJ had his hand up before me.
I don't see that name on the screen. Go ahead, Serial.
All right, well, I don't know how you ignore somebody that's right next to me over here, but first thing is I miss Keith. Second thing, my major question is in the presentation, maybe I was sleeping or whatever, I was trying to pay attention. I didn't see where safely people get on and off the bus. So I didn't see any sidewalk or anything designated for where people are supposed to get on and off the bus. Are these buses stopping on Fordham at all, or are they just passing through? Are they going from from Webster all the way to Universal? Because I didn't see any bus stops.
The rendering was very, the buses will stop generally in the same place they do today. So the buses will be traveling in the offset lane, but then will pull over to the curb. Yes.
Wait a minute, you mean you're still gonna have curbside bus stops?
Buses will buses will still pull to the curb to stop and then pull out back into the bus lane. Sometimes we do look at ways we can extend the curb either through concrete extensions or bus borders, and those are potential treatments we could look for here as part of this project too, which then allows the bus to stop in the bus lane, which keeps it moving faster. So that's a very good point.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Thanks. Armando?
Hello, can you hear me? Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Serio. As a resident of Norwood, I approve of this. I actually think it doesn't do enough. Don't let the private interests lobby or bid bully you into serving them and not the public. Do more to change it and free up or restore Fordham and the historic Bronx shopping corridor for the public you serve. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your feedback.
Yeah. All right. Was that the only presentation you guys had for us, DOT?
Yes.
Okay. Also, Doris, congratulations on your promotion to interim commissioner. I believe Keith is pursuing other adventures with DOT.
Yes. Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. Just as an update for everyone, we had a ticket that was placed with DOT a while back in reference to signs on Jerome Avenue and East Moshula Parkway North, where there was graffiti blocking the signage, and it's been replaced. There was another issue that was brought to DOT during last month's meeting in reference to the drains on Gun Hill Road. That's being pushed over to, I'm sorry, not being pushed over. That's going to be something that DEP has to work on in order to try to correct that situation. But DOT did inspect it and gave us that information. I'd like to thank you guys for keeping us in the loop. Cyril, you had something?
Yes. being that Keith's not here, I hope that the information was passed on. It is now June 1st. DOT sent out 2 complaints that should have been rectified on Webster Avenue and 204th Street. And the dining area has not been removed, and that was designated to come down in May. It is now June 1st, and that dining area is still up. And that bus lanes, the bus things were supposed to be moved too. I have 3 different numbers. I sent them to the office. You should have them. Okay, nothing was done. And it is now June 1st. They were designated to be done in May of 2023. That's DOT 581-303, 591-304, I'm sorry, 591-303, and 591-316.
Hi,
Alright.
Sergio. So I can just say that we did issue the encroachment notice, which I think is what you're referring to, and we followed up with our HIQA team today. So I can get you an answer by tomorrow on what the next step is here. Thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, Serial,
The removal, not an answer.
Serial, if you could just do me a favor, those ticket numbers that you have for DOT, if you could get that information to Carla, and then we can address it directly with DOT, and hopefully we'll have an answer by our next.
Paula sent me back an email stating that, thank you for sending me the 3 ticket numbers.
Yeah, we received those numbers.
Yes, Sergio, I did send them. So the update for the first one, DOT said they're still waiting for a status update. And for DOT 591316, they stated that construction debris was removed for one of their units. I can send this via email to you.
What about the dining unit to come down?
So that's the one we're following up on. So that's what I'm gonna get a response to Carla for tomorrow.
Don't worry, I got a sledgehammer. Thank you.
All right. Also, just an update. DOT also updated us on the charging stations for both the Gun Hill and the I'm sorry, the one on 190th was fixed. They have a parts procurement issue in reference to trying to fix the one up on Gun Hill Road. But they're still looking at it, and they're still trying to fix it. Unfortunately, those items are not available by the vendor that did it originally, so they have to find a way to correct the situation, where they're going to replace them, fix them, or what they're going to do to so that we have charging stations available at Gun Hill.
Edgar,
Yes.
I'd just like to say again that the food truck that was on the corner of Bainbridge facing Gun Hill has definitely been removed and has found a new place to park and is not impeding the flow of buses making a right-hand turn from Bainbridge onto Gun Hill.
Yes, Lo, you sent that information. I thank you for that. I'm sorry I didn't update I'm sorry. I didn't update the community board on that. Andrew, I know Andrew's happy to have that happen. Like I said, I had been up there. I didn't see the truck anymore. But thank you for the information and the update of where they actually are now. All right, DOT, thank you as always for giving us information, giving us the proper information. I'd like to go now to the MTA. We had a presentation that was supposed to be in reference to the train station on Moshula Parkway for the elevator update.
Yes, thank you, Edgar. Just for those who may have not heard, my name is Megan Molina. I'm an Assistant Director for Government and Community Relations at New York City Transit. I am joined by several of my colleagues over from the project team because we're here to talk about the Moshulu Parkway ADA project that will be coming online soon. So I'm joined by Brian Leona, Ryan Lescouper, Robert Stepien, Jason Vinn, and David Sikorsky. And so we're just going to go through a brief presentation, and at the end we can take some questions. So Brian, do you want to share your screen, or do you want me to share mine?
Hi, yeah, Brian here. I'm ready to share the screen, although I am getting that disabled screen sharing message right now, but I'll try it again.
Yeah,
Now it came.
I'm sorry,
Sorry.
Carla has to turn you on. We've been having issues, so we're very secure about that magic little button. Thank you.
Okay, that makes sense. It did come up for me now. Thank you. Okay, so again, Brian here. Can you see the screen that I have up?
You can see the screen.
Okay, let me jump to the very beginning. Okay, so again, I will be pretty brief. Well, not brief, but efficient at least, okay, since everyone's been on the call for a long time. My name is Brian Leona from the MTA. I'm joined, so I'm the project manager for the MTA. And as Megan said, we're joined by other MTA people from our government and community relations group, as well as the contractor. The contractor is on the call also to answer any questions about the construction aspects of it. And so again, we're now going to be adding ADA elevators to a Moshulu Parkway station in the Bronx. So here we have the subway map of the station, just showing the general area. This is part of what we're calling Package 3 ADA. MTA has a number of ADA packages out, and each one of them is adding elevators or repairing elevators at a number of stations. So this project, Package 3, is actually doing 13 stations throughout all 4 boroughs. We're not working in Staten Island in this particular package. So this project is for ADA accessibility. It's actually quite limited. It's not an overall station renovation. It's very specifically focused on installing generally elevators to ensure that the station is ADA accessible to the public. It happens to be a P3 project, which is a new source of funding that the MTA is exploring to help better fund the projects and have more resources available. It's a design build contract, and that's why I have the contractor on the call also, which means the contractor and their design team will be finishing the design that we've already provided the schematics for and implementing the construction of it. It was awarded in May of this year, and Moshulu Parkway is one of the first stations they're going to be working on. They're going to begin mobilizing in August of this year, start to do general excavation work by the end of this year, and complete both elevators by the end of 2024. Okay, the picture here is just a general rendering of what the station will be looking like when it's completed. So you see our new glazed elevator there, and that's one of our typical current designs for the elevators. We're trying to enclose them in glass so that they're more visible for security purposes and just to allow the customer a view of the neighborhood they're in and the environment around them. So we're putting in 2 elevators, one elevator from the street to the mezzanine and then to the platform. And for the other platform, for the northbound platform, it will go from the mezzanine to the platform. We're doing the raised ADA boarding areas. That's the area in the center of the platform where the height has been specifically adjusted to get into the subway car. And we're repairing and we're adding 2 new stairs in the station as well, also at this control area. And that's the north control area at the station. What's on the screen now is a floor plan showing the future design for the north control area, and the areas in red are what we're adding new to the station. And the view that we're at now, oh, I see that there is a hand up. Is it something you want to go over right now, or would you rather we hold this to the very end?
My quick comment. Oh.
We'd like to leave the questions to the end. I'm sure there's going to be quite a few.
No problem.
Okay, no problem. Hold that thought, and at the end we'll get to these items. Thank you, Edgar. So again, what you see here is the mezzanine level. So that's one level above the street. The street runs below. The customer right now is coming up the 2 staircases that are in black. Okay, so that's what's there right now. And then, normal customers are going on the sidewalk, coming up the stairs and getting to the control area. And then from the control area, they can go to the northbound or southbound platform. So in the area above the sidewalk, in that space, and I have another photo a little further in the presentation that'll show this, in that area is where we're adding the new staircases and the new elevators, and that's what you see in red. Okay, so here's a photo of the actual conditions that are out there right now. And what you're seeing here is that open area above the sidewalk where we're going to be filling that in with the new elevator. So we're extending the control area on both the north and southbound platforms. And that's where we're going to add that additional circulation space to get you from the elevator into the control area and then up to the platforms. As part of the project, one of the major items is going to be some utility relocations that are needed on the street and sidewalk. That's going to be one of the first things that we're doing on the project. And then, of course, to support the elevator and the new structure we're adding, of course, we have steel work, structural concrete work, mechanical and plumbing. That's all to support the new elevator and the elevator machine room. We have to do some electrical work. We're making repairs along the stairways and the pathway to get there. And of course, our elevator has a new roof and new glazing and handrails and guardrails along the stairs. What you see on the slide now, this is our general project schedule. And here you see where, again, what the contractor is looking to do is to set up what we call MPT, maintenance and protection of traffic. And they'd like to set up some barricades along the street. And that way they can safely do their excavation. And I have a slide coming up that's going to show you those two zones. That would start as soon as August 2023. By September, we'll begin relocating the utilities that are in the street on that area. We'll start to put in the foundations on both sides, both northbound and southbound for the new elevators, bring in the structural steel, expand the elevator, the mezzanine control area, and complete both elevators by the end of 2024. A key item to note is that the station will remain in service at all times. There will be 1 or 2 weekends per platform where the station will need to be shut down just for the weekend only and just for one platform at a time. So there'll always be train service running on past the station and just going on, again, one track at a time. So either northbound or southbound, whichever side is getting the elevator done, may not have service for 1 or 2 weekends, and those haven't been scheduled yet. And then when that work is complete, we would shift over to the other platform. The overall project as package, the totality of package 3 is going to be completed actually in 2026. So this is that MPT plan I was talking about. And the area in yellow is the area where the contractor would be setting up their barricades. And so if you can see where I'm moving the mouse around here, so it is partially on the street as well as on the sidewalk. So during the phase 1, pedestrians on the sidewalk would still be able to use this part of the sidewalk, and we'd maintain the access along the sidewalk on the side while the contractor is working in the street. 2 lanes of traffic can still continue on in the middle of the roadway. There is a bus stop there, and we know the bus stop is there, and we've analyzed where we can relocate it. And the best location is a little bit further to the south at the other control area, and that's the area you see here in green. So we'd relocate the buses temporarily to that control area while this work is being completed. Phase 2. So the first time we had taken away areas closer to the street, but left the areas on the outside of the station where the elevators are going. In phase 2, now we have to do the construction in those areas. So now our barricaded area shifts completely off the street, or almost completely off the street, but taking up the entire sidewalk and all the way to the edge of the sidewalk so we can put in the elevators. And that's what you see in yellow. The bus stops are still relocated to the south of the station. And at that time then, on both sides, pedestrians going down the street would be diverted to a secured and barricaded area along the street. So you'd still have 2 lanes of traffic there, 1 in each direction, and pedestrians could go past the construction area and then get back onto the sidewalk. Okay, so again, as I alluded to a little bit earlier, there are going to be some weekend service diversions, generally 1 or 2 per platform over the weekend. During the weekdays, there may be a number of weekday diversions, again, 1 platform at a time only, and those occur from 10 a.m. until 3 p.m. But again, at those times, there's still service in both directions. The train is just not stopping at the station on 1 platform or the other, but never both at the same time. Again, the bus stops are going to be relocated. And we have protocols in place for, again, notifying the community of when that's going to occur and putting up signage. We'd have to locate, close down some of the staircases. We would, again, alert the community and put up signs so that people will know that some of those stairs are going to be out of service when we're working on them. We would set up the barricades at street level. Those are the yellow areas I showed on the MPT plan. We have signage that we plan to place, again, to advise the community and the neighborhood of what's going on and where to find the access points to the station. Here's a photo example of some of the work we've already started here at the sidewalk level. And that happens to just show one of the test pits we dug. Because again, in order to make sure that we do get the project done efficiently and quickly, we've started to dig up parts of the street to make sure that we can identify all the utilities and make sure there are no unknowns or surprises that could delay the project and create even more disruption to the area. And so we've actually completed that in the last couple of weeks, and the team has done a pretty good job. We found the utilities we were looking for, had better clarity on exactly where some of the items were. And again, now we have a better design going forward. So if you're right in that area, you probably would have seen some of our work crews out there and our designers going through the area. For overall contact on the project, we do have a project website that the MTA has that discusses all the ADA accessibility projects. We have construction bulletins that we'll be distributing. There's a project hotline. That's the phone number you see there on the screen. And that's a 24/7 number to respond to any non-emergency complaints or concerns from the public about the project. And again, as you've already met, I have my colleagues from government and community relations that are also our key point of contact between us and the community to make a successful project. And that is the final slide that I have. And so I would turn it back over to Edgar and the community board. And I just want to say thank you for having us on the call. And, you know, we're looking forward to your feedback.
Thank you, Brian.
Yeah.
Just a quick question. Who's the constructing GC?
It is two different companies that work on the project, Halmore and Forte.
Okay. All right. Lowell, you had a question? In reference
Yes.
to this?
It's not been said here, and I think it's real important to reassure people in the very beginning to state that the elevator will be on firm ground because there's the Marshalloo Parkway underpass that runs underneath the subway.
Okay. Yes, understood. And actually, I do follow that. I mean, you know, my friends used to live in that neighborhood, so I've always known that area. And let's see if I got that slide. Okay, yeah, I don't have it on, what I kind of do. Okay, so yeah, like, as you know, right, we're really close to the parkway right here. And again, as part of our overall preliminary design, and that's why we did those test pits, we actually do borings to determine the soil condition, and that's all part of the design. So I mean, actually designing foundations and items like that, that is one of our specialties at the MTA. We definitely, you know, study that pretty carefully.
But I think just to reassure the community,
Yeah,
you should put that a little somewhere in your presentation instead of like, well, I didn't mention this.
okay, understood. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Lowell.
All right. Do we have any other questions in reference to the construction project?
Yeah, I have my hand up,
Carla.
Eddie.
Yeah, I was gonna say Carla because because of the way the screen is up, I can't see who's got their hands up. I'm sorry.
I'll unshare the
Ask
screen.
Carla.
Okay.
Sorry. Hold on. Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Jean, go ahead.
There are other people ahead of me, but
Wait, hold on, Jean. You
yeah,
have
there are other people
Andrew.
ahead of me.
Edgar, you have Andrew's
Yeah.
hand up.
Okay, Andrew, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so I posted in the chat the article, and it's been all over the news that these elevators are very expensive and they're constantly breaking down. Is this a better generation model elevator that will not break down as frequently as the other ones have? I mean, it's been pretty well documented in the media. So that's my question is this the same type of elevator that's going to constantly break down? Or is this a new and improved elevator?
Okay, that's a valid point. So when we're installing these elevators, and again, some of the elevators that are cited in these other studies are elevators that have been in service for up to 25 years. And as an elevator gets older and older, it does begin to have more service issues. So when we install an elevator brand new, we should have much better performance. Generally, we have been taking our lessons learned, and actually our performance standards for New York City Transit elevators are so much higher than what the industry has that we sometimes have a hard time getting bidders because they're used to installing the same old elevator they do in regular buildings. And they constantly push back that what we're asking for is more heavy duty. So again, I do understand that they do break down, and that is true because they get a lot of use. And unfortunately, there is vandalism and there is activity that people go onto the elevators and abuse them. And that is a challenge. But these are going to be brand new elevators. We have incorporated lessons learned to make the elevators as heavy duty as possible. And the contractor will also be maintaining the elevators for 15 to 25 years. And so the contractor themselves are going to take the most steps they can to keep those elevators in service as much as possible.
Also, another thing about those elevators is that a lot of them go in and out of private property. Some of the train stations, they although they're underground, have to get to the street level, and in some cases are using private property to do that. And some of the elevators, although they're being used by MTA, are not necessarily MTA property. And sometimes those are the ones that are getting the bad rep, not necessarily just the MTA elevators per se. Just a heads up.
Oh yeah, thank you, Edgar. That is actually true to a degree, that some of those privately maintained ones, our actual New York City Transit people do a pretty good job.
One of the scariest is the one on 168th Street, under the one from the 1 train to the A train. For over 25 years, it's always been an interesting train station. I'm sorry, Chad, go ahead.
Yes, good evening. I'm really excited to see that we're going to get an elevator at Mashulu Parkway. But I'm just a little confused about the drawing. You have one elevator from the ground on the south side, giving service to the mezzanine and the uptown side, right? And then you have, do I have that right?
Well, actually, the elevator on the northbound platform, right, goes from the street to the mezzanine, but also to the platform. So northbound will take you either to the mezzanine or straight to the platform.
So how do we differentiate passengers who already paid their fare if they have to take the elevator that takes you all the way down to the floor?
So correct on that. So where the control area is, the customer is able to, so while I'm talking here, I just have to make sure I have the floor plan in front of me so I can respond properly on these items. There's going to be additional turnstiles at the platform level. And so if you're going straight from the street to the northbound platform, there's going to be turnstiles right up there. And so you pay your fare and you get onto the northbound platform. If you're going to the southbound platform, you would take the elevator from the street to the mezzanine, then you'd be able to interact with the agent if needed, or take the elevator from the mezzanine to the southbound platform. And so once you do that, you would be in what we call the paid zone. And so the way the station is laid out, it does make provision for that.
So all the elevators, with the exception of the one on the ground floor, is part of the paid zone?
The elevator is unpaid, so when you're on the elevator, you're in an unpaid zone until you get off the elevator and walk to the turnstile. So you could take the elevator from the street to the mezzanine. I mean, this is just like the way the station is right now, right? You can walk off the sidewalk, up the stairs, go into the mezzanine, interact with the station agent, and still not enter the paid zone. And so these elevators are actually following that same process.
I'm having a hard time trying to visualize that, and I don't want to take too much time. I'm just imagining if somebody's wheelchair bound, how they'll be able, because we have two major hospitals nearby.
Mhm.
And I'm just hoping that this process will be easier and not harder for our folks who are wheelchair bound.
Right.
Perhaps as it goes along, maybe I can get a better view of how that's going to work.
Okay, I mean, actually, this is similar to what we've done on other stations, but I would also point out for information, you might be familiar with this already. As part of the ADA upgrades, we have a system called AFAS, and anyone that needs it in a wheelchair can get a special type of Metro card that when they put that into the AFAS machine, there's an automated gate that opens up. And so, you know, it's I mean, it still functions as a normal exit gate for the public, and you probably use them yourself, but they can be operated automatically. And that's something that the community is familiar with, and they do use those items, the AFAS gates. And so that helps to make a smoother transition, you know, like you're talking about, that as they're navigating the station, they're able to get around without too much difficulty.
All right, because I was thinking that the elevators will be separated, but I guess I'll hold my thoughts, but thank you.
So Chad, we're also going to share the presentation and a one-pager on the project. So maybe if you want to take another look, and if you want to just relay over some questions offline, we can maybe better address to help clarify, but you'll be able to take another look at the presentation we just showed.
Thanks. Or perhaps another view of the elevator would be helpful, because I'm only seeing top down. I'm not seeing a side view. Maybe that could be helpful.
We'll take a look at what we have available.
Got you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chad. Jean.
Sirio is in front of me, so you want to
Yeah,
go to...
usually we go with
Yeah.
we go with committee members, then we
The
go with
community
community board members, and then we go with
Oh.
the general public.
Okay, so since I actually live across the street from where this subway is and campaign to have it put there, so I also would like a copy of this whole presentation, because it directly affects the tenants at Tracy Towers, along with North Central Bronx, DeWitt Clinton High School, Montefiore Hospital. So I'm not quite clear on how part of this works. Now, I understood what Chad was trying to say about when you come up on the southbound side, it takes you on the southbound side straight up to the platform. But if you want to go to the mezzanine, you take the northbound side.
Would you like me to put that slide back up on the screen and walk you through it?
Yeah, because that's a little confusing to me. Because like say, I live directly across the street in Tracy Towers.
Right.
So if you're going to be boop bopping in the middle of the night, you're going to hear from me anyway. But when you walk across the street, the first stairwell directly across from Tracy Towers, right off from Petula Parkway South, there is no token booth there. So when you go up there, you can use the machines to buy your token or transportation. So would you still have to walk up the stairs, or if you want to avoid the stairs, walk across the street to the northbound side, go up to the mezzanine platform to get your tokens, and then take the elevator back up to the top?
Okay, so here I am. If I walk through this, I'm on the street. I can only get into the station, okay, from this elevator right here. Okay, that's the northbound platform. Okay.
Okay, is that near the token booth side, or this is near the side that's...
Yeah, token booth side. Yeah, that's accurate. It's the token booth side.
Okay, so that's down the street.
Yep.
Close to Meshulah Parkway North, not south.
Okay, I would guess.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
thanks.
like I said, I live across the street, so I walk up and down this block.
Okay,
So where the elevator is actually going to be is down with near the token booth side. That's why I specified closest to the building, there is no token booth. You just go up on the platform if you want to refill your card or something like that. And then you go through the turnstile. So everybody on this side would have to walk down to where the token booth side is to catch the elevator.
if you wanted to go to the southbound platform,
Yes, going to the southbound platform.
right,
That's where we go.
right, you would have to come
There's only one stop past me. That's Woodlawn.
Right. You'd have to, right, you'd have to go, again, you come up here, you could take this all the way to the mezzanine, but if you wanted to go southbound, you would get off here. Go
Okay.
through these two doors here,
Okay.
okay? Enter through the turnstiles or the gates that you see here.
Right.
Go through, take this elevator here, and this elevator goes from the mezzanine to the platform.
Okay.
And then you'd be on the platform, and then you could take the train southbound.
Okay. Okay, so I got that part.
Yep.
Okay, so now,
So Jean, yes, all this work is being done on the north side of the station where the booth is.
thank you, Eric. That's really what I'm focusing in on, because I need to know exactly where all of this is going to happen. Because that means that anybody getting off the bus, coming say from the west side to catch the subway there, has to go all the way down to where the north side is, where Eric just told us, to be able to catch the elevator to go upstairs.
Well, I think that once the elevator is put in place, they will put back the bus stop at the same location.
Okay, and then you're saying you're moving the bus stops, but where exactly are you putting the bus stops? Because when they come off the train now, the number 4 bus, the 10 bus stops right there on Jerome Avenue. So are you moving it further down, further back? Where are you putting the new bus stops?
It's going to the other control area at the south end of the station, as I have on the screen now.
Okay, so you're moving the bus stop closer to where Tracy Towers is. You don't know Tracy Towers, these 2 big buildings, if you all been doing surveys over there, you standing
Yes,
right.
that's correct.
Okay, thanks.
That is correct. What you're saying
Okay.
is they're moving the bus stops temporarily to the south side of the station.
It's a temporary move, and when we have a sense of when it's actually going to happen, that'll be communicated to the board, and the exact depiction of where it'll be shifted to will also be communicated so that you have a better understanding of where it will be.
Okay, because one of the things that I think needs to happen also, I know you're giving this presentation to the board, but since this directly affects the people right here in Tracy Towers in this particular area, that if you would consent to doing a presentation here also for anybody in the surrounding area can come and see what you're planning on doing. Because this is all very new. Everybody is not at this meeting and they're not going to know anything about it. Yes, we all campaign to have this station put here, but I know once before where y'all did some changes in the area with the MTA and y'all were banging and bopping 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. And we had to really mount a protest for you guys to come to the building and get some input for the community residents. So that's basically what I'm saying to you. I hear what you're saying. I'm looking at all it is, but I think we need to explore this further.
So we do have a 1-pager that I will be sharing with the community board that can be distributed within the community. It can go to the residents of Tracy Towers.
Okay.
As the project progresses and we actually break ground, if you have concerns that come up, I am the point of contact for the community board.
Okay.
So members of the community board can reach out to me. Folks who are not members of the community board will be able to reach out to the hotline that's available on that 1-pager that will be shared. And that hotline is being actively monitored so that whatever concerns come in through there will also be relayed over to MTA for construction and development and GCR, government and community relations, which is my team. So those are the avenues for board members and then members of the public to be able to relay concerns if any arise throughout the project. But that 1-pager can be shared with the residents.
Okay, no, I am a community board
Thank
member.
you,
And
thank
if
you,
would-
Megan.
No, I just want to
Jean,
say, Carla, I'll get the information from you.
Yes, absolutely. And then you can also, once the YouTube link is ready, you can also share that with residents at Tracy Towers, and I'll be happy to relay those questions to Megan.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Jean.
Carla. If she could put her information in the contact information in the chat.
Jean, I'll be the point of contact, so you can contact the office.
Oh, okay, perfect, Carla.
Yes,
Perfect.
thank you, Jean.
Serial, you have a question?
Yes, thank you very much. I'm glad this event will take place. I have one question though. Maybe I'm not reading the map right. How is the work zone gonna affect the sitting park that's near the corner there on the north side of Jerome Avenue there, where the people sit? Is that where the construction elevator is gonna go?
Yes, it is. That area is going to be temporarily not available for part of that construction because that
means the sitting park will not be available at all for the whole community?
if the sitting park that you're referring to is the part of the sidewalk that's underneath the subway structure, that is going to be occupied by construction. But is the sitting park that you're referring to not under the subway?
One sitting park there.
What's that?
There's only one sitting park there.
Is
The other side is across the street from Tracy Towers.
Is the park you're referring to on the sidewalk?
It's right off of the side, right off of the entrance.
And it's under the subway station?
Yeah, it's under the station. It's next to the subway station, not
Right,
under.
right. So yeah, unfortunately, the only way to build the elevator and bring in the steel and all that work that has to be done is working under the subway station. So that area will be unavailable for some period of time.
Brian, is that for both phases or just one?
Actually, for the first phase, the sidewalk area will still be available, so a portion of that will still be available. But during phase 2, that area would be completely barricaded when we start to do the elevator installation.
And again, when those phases are underway and as we get closer to that time period, that's information that'll be communicated to the board so that you have a sense of what areas are going to have barricades, our MPTs, maintenance and protection of traffic, which is what we're referring to, so that you know what's going up when and what will be restricted.
All right, the only problem I got with that is the community invested millions of dollars in that garden over there. And we want to know who the hell's going to maintain it while you people barricade it off, and who's going to be watering it and taking care of our
Okay.
in the city.
Okay, wait, can I clarify then? So we're not taking any space that's not currently under the subway station. So there's no garden that we're barricading in.
All right, it seems like we're having a miscommunication here. There's a sitting area outside of the subway station, but very close to it. Knowing how debris flies around, will that be barricaded off to protect the public? And how far down is it gonna take place?
Okay. So again, we're not gonna have any barricades on any parkland. All of our barricades are only gonna be on our subway property and sidewalks.
Okay.
So you know, and part of our yeah.
Yeah,
And it is our policy and our construction procedures do require the contractor to maintain, and we do monitor cleanliness of the work site and debris. So you know, I would be confident in that area that we're not going to damage any parkland, because we're actually always sensitive to, especially when we're in an area like Marshall Park where we're surrounded by a park on both sides.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Serial. Armando?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, you would think with 2 major hospitals a few blocks away, the local train station would have had an elevator by now, but the IRT line has a crazy history, so I understand. Just wanted to say I do like the presentation as is and approve. Also, thank you for putting pride flags on the trains in Metro North for Pride Month this year. The heartbeat cows are lovely, and to see them beating along the city on the trains today was amazing. Thank you.
Thanks,
Oh, you're welcome.
thank you very much. There's a lot of information from MTA. I think we had a couple of questions that we brought up to you guys, and prior to this meeting. Carla, do you see, do you have the two questions? There were two questions for MTA, was there not?
Yes, they were, but they require follow-up, so
Okay,
we'll be following up with the constituents who made the request, and I'll follow up with Megan.
okay. All right,
If we're-
Megan, thank you very much for a wonderful presentation and for plenty of information.
Thank you, Edgar. Yeah, if there are no more questions on the project, then I just want to thank the folks from the project team who have joined and just want to let them drop off. I'll stick around if there are other questions, but Carla, like you said, I'll keep an eye out for the questions that you raised so we can get you the answers once we have more specifics there.
I just have one question. I remember, I want to say about 5 years ago, right? There was when they originally were finishing the last of the elevators that were promised, right? And this was back from like the 60s. Then Moshulu Parkway, I believe, is the last one from that batch of promised elevators, right? Was there a site that was set up for the MTA customers to suggest where they would like to see elevators? Was there something set up for that?
I'm not aware of a formal site for that. I know oftentimes we hear from community members either like through word of mouth or like from this community board, from elected officials, if it makes its way into like your capital and like budget expenses, even doesn't fall into that sort of programming for that, but that's like one way that we become aware of that. So I'm not aware of like a formal channel to submit that. More so just hearing from the community what the needs are and then taking that into account when we do our 20-year needs assessment.
Okay, just because there was a couple of stations, I guess, that was suggested within the chat, Tremont Avenue and a couple of
Yes, I
others.
did notice that, and I was replying to some. Tremont Avenue is underway, so we'll have news there once that's complete. And so I did respond to some of the questions in the chat, but always happy to hear from the community and what their thoughts are, and to bring that back over to our folks who work on our 20-year needs assessment.
All right, thank you for that, Megan. I appreciate you. So I believe that is it for MTA for right now. Our next batter up to the plate is our TD11. Thank you for being so patient. I don't know, Meredith, if you guys still awake.
Thanks, everyone.
Did you guys get thank you, sir. Thank you, Brian. Officer Meredith, are you out there?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was on mute.
No, it's okay. I understand.
Yes, good evening. I'm Officer Benedict from Transit District 11. We covered the 4, the B, and the D line here in the Bronx. I just want to talk again about subway safety. One of the prime targets, of course, in the subway system is cell phones, headphones, and wallets. We would like to inform that at least our subway riders to stay awake and stay alert. Most important, stay awake. Most of our actually grand larcenies are coming from passengers who are falling asleep, and also passengers who's actually standing next to the doors. That's about it. Of course, this is our last meeting for June, if I'm not mistaken. I hope everybody have a safe, blessed summer. But if there's questions or concerns, I'm still will be available here in the group chat.
I know your commanding officer was on the chat also. Did he have something he wanted to say first?
He has to run out. There was just an emergency, just on top side. So he just stepped out like 5 minutes ago.
Okay, no, I understand. You guys cover a busy district.
Yeah.
So all right, thank you very much for your information. Like I said, sorry for the extra long meeting today. This is our last meeting until September, so we want to get all the good information out to everyone. All right, I'd like to thank everyone that presented, everyone's good information. Our next meeting date will be September 7th, 2023. I'm assuming, unless things change or unless there's something really drastic that happens, that should be an in-person meeting. all that information will come out as things are secured as far as location and when and where the meeting is going to be. So
Wait, hold on, Edgar, you have someone else in the meeting. He's from traffic operations, Nicola Ventre. Not sure if they have any updates for us.
okay.
Good evening, Deputy Inspector Nicola Ventry from the Transportation Bureau, in charge of citywide task force. What we do is Vision Zero. We deploy our units. We have 60 members assigned to CTTF, and we deploy citywide. We've been in the Bronx for 12 weeks this year, particularly in the 40, 44, 46, and the 52. Looking at the 52 particularly, we're on the Grand Concourse, East Fordham Road to Moshulu Parkway. Total numbers, like your activity, what my unit does, we're out there doing hazardous moving violations, speed summonses, cell phone, texting, seat belts, things of that nature, hazardous moving summonses. So in the Bronx, we've been doing the Vision Zero. We've also been doing a crime initiative that started 3 weeks ago. We have a speed initiative, seatbelt initiative. We also do truck operations. We have a truck team that deploys into the Bronx. We stop and speak to private sanitation and also box trucks, and we do safety checks with them. So the combined total summonses for the year to date for the Bronx is 12,953 summonses. And out of that, we have 323 just focusing on trucks. Now, if you look at the 5-2, that small area, we have 86 summonses in that area. I also have a TED. They do the parking summonses, the agents walking up and down the Grand Concourse. In the Bronx, total is 71,000 summonses written this year so far. I don't have a breakdown for the 5-2, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you for that information. I remember the last time you presented to us, you guys had also been at the 50 precinct along Broadway. You were doing some enforcement along there also, right?
This year we have not been in the 50. Particularly, we're focusing on the 40, 44, 46, and the 52, and the 48.
Okay. No, I remember you did present to us and you gave us a lot of good information. Does anyone in the committee have any questions? Okay, being no questions. Serial, you have a question?
Yes, welcome to the meeting. It's great to see you here, sir.
Thank you.
One question I have, do you help enforce the illegal or semi-legal car washing vans that take up the streets and never move, and also block the side roads by cleaning cars in the traffic lanes?
My unit doesn't. I have to see if TED, the traffic enforcement agents, if they're out there issuing their summonses. I'll get back to the group with that answer and see if we have a figure for that.
Yeah, because that's a major problem we're having, and also overnight parking of delivery trucks, just trucks and et cetera, et cetera.
We've been doing a citywide education with our police officers and the precincts in regards to the type of enforcement that's available to them for anything from a plumber's truck to a box truck to the tractor trailers, the type of enforcement, because each one elevates in the fines.
Thank you.
Yeah, Serial, just a heads up in reference to that. We're trying to get I guess we'd consider it more of an initiative put together, right? We're trying to get traffic, we're trying to get NYPD and the agencies that are involved in that to try to work together to hit. They did something similar to that, I believe, along Broadway because of the trucks off of 87. We want to try to do that in Jerome, Webster, and a few of the other thoroughfares. Now, even on the Grand Concourse, right? The tractor trailers are parking up there. So it's definitely something we need to address. And even on the side streets on Bailey Avenue, sorry, Sedgwick. But it's something that we've brought to their attention, and they're trying to see if they can do a proper enforcement of that for us.
You know, what we did an operation in Queens South, and what we look for the precinct to do is find available lots to temporarily park these tractor trailers, because that's the obstacle, is when we told these tractor trailers where we put them. So we look for precincts to find designated areas where they could safeguard these vehicles. And what happens, the driver will have to go to the tow pound, pay the fine, and then travel back to that open field to pick his truck up.
Yeah, that was one of the issues in the Bronx was the original DOT parking lot, the tow yard. They used to be on 100 and I believe it's like 141st off of the Bruckner, was closed down because they were doing the construction for the jail there. So for a long time there wasn't anywhere to really put vehicles other than in Manhattan. And with the tractor trailers, that was a bit of a problem for towing. They've recently started using Fordham Landing area for vehicles that are being towed, booted, and otherwise confiscated. So at least they have somewhere to put them, and having somewhere to put them, they can then properly do the enforcement. If I'm correct, I think.
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you as always for your information. If anyone ever has any questions or any concerns, if you reach out to the community board, we can always forward your questions to the appropriate agency and try to see if we can get actions on stuff we need. All right. Thank you very much. Do we have anything else? Any more presentations? Okay, not hearing any. Do we have any agenda items for September? Hello?
Can we put congested pricing on the agenda some point in the fall?
In reference to your question, I am trying to address that, being that it's something that's being proposed. There's nothing set in stone yet. There's nothing written up. We're trying to see if we can get some of that information from the elected officials prior to that being released.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Yep. Chad.
I would like follow up on the ghost cars and the cars with the fake plates.
Yeah.
Just to get a sense of how the enforcement is going. Just a suggestion.
Okay. Except I believe that would be a quality of life item, but we can try to get information if you'd like.
Yeah. And that's just in case if something big comes up, but something to consider.
Yep.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Chad.
Thank you.
Andrew.
Yeah, a question, point of information. The car share, there's a 2-car length space on Valentine and 204th Street that started about like 3 weeks ago. And at first there were 2 vehicles there. I think they're labeled Get Around. That's one of the companies.
Yes.
And I've noticed that literally every single day it appears that there are privately owned vehicles in those parking spaces. So my question is, this Get Around, isn't it that people can, in a sense, rent out their private vehicles? In other words, how would I, as a citizen or a ticket agent or law enforcement, know whether the vehicle that's parked in that designated parking area is a get-around vehicle or an illegally parked personal car or a personal car that's rented out to get around?
Apparently,
that's my question.
The information that I got was that the cars will be marked. They are having a issue with the stocking of the cars, right? Each like you said, each spot where they propose to put these cars supposed to support 2 cars per location. I think it's supposed to be a total of 20 locations between the 2 companies. They seem to be having supply issues with vehicles, but the signage is up and the enforcement is on.
Wait, Edgar, and we also
Yeah.
got an update from DOT stating that some of the reasons is just what Andrew was saying. There seems to be like the spaces are blocked, and so it prevents the shared cars to actually be there.
Right. And the spots that are empty, right, they said that they have no vehicles to put there, right?
Actually, my question is, okay, Get Around is a company. So if you see a vehicle parked in this 2-space parking area, does a Get Around vehicle have a Get Around sticker on it? I mean, I thought when I went to the website that people, like I could use my personal car and I guess make it available to Get Around to be rented. So if my personal vehicle is parked there, how do you know if it is an illegally parked personal vehicle or it's a personal vehicle that Get Around is using? In other words, does a vehicle parked in that space have to have a decal on it that says Get Around? I guess that's my question. Does anybody know?
Renee, I know you're still in the meeting. Don't want to put you on the spot, but is that a question that you can answer now, or is that a question that you can follow up on later? Okay, Edgar, I guess I can take that question and relay it to DOT and follow up with
Right, because when those companies made their presentation, they didn't make it seem like anyone can just put their car up to be rented out. I thought the companies were, they were company-owned cars that were being offered as rentals.
It's not clear from their website. It's not clear. All I can tell you is, and I work literally 200 feet away. I see it every day, and I can vouch that I am not kidding. Not sometimes, all the time. There are what appears to me to be privately owned vehicles parked in that spot that do not have the Get Around decal on it. But again, it might be that they are privately owned vehicles that are part of the Get Around program. So my question is, does Get Around or does a city require those vehicles to have some kind of signage on the vehicle itself? That's my question.
Well, we'll get that information from DOT, I guess, for September's meeting.
Thank you.
All right, being we don't have any more hands, I'll ask for us to adjourn the meeting. Our wonderful June meeting, and hope everyone has a wonderful summer. See everyone at the main community board meeting, and everyone have a safe summer.
Motion to adjourn.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Seeing no opposition, we adjourn our meeting. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening.